Hello and welcome to the final edition of the Hedge Invest Pembroke update for 2021 for December. We'll be doing our next update in 2022 and we'll be wishing you all a happy new year. Talking about what this year and performance and portfolios, the last 6 months have been an incredibly challenging time for active long-short managers. One of the main reasons for this is the huge underperformance of small caps relative to the large big cap index driving names. We notice this across the board when we look at EM against developed markets, where EM has underperformed large cap US by 25% this year. We notice this within markets as well, where in the US, small caps have underperformed the large cap indices by over 10% this year. And even on a global basis, where if you look at ACWI, ACWI small cap has underperformed ACWI world by 5% in the last 6 months alone. This is a conundrum to some extent as to why, in particular, small cap names are being derated, and we see this in our portfolios and across the board. One of the reasons we think is a flight to liquidity and a fear that the Fed may be making a policy mistake in its tapering and tightening. That may be true. We may be in a very strong economy. We may be in a global economy that is slowing substantially, and the Fed is in the process of making a policy mistake. We tend to believe in the latter, and have positioned our portfolio accordingly, where we've had a very low net exposure and a very low amount of basis risk to ride through this difficult and turbulent period for our space. Having said all that, we think the opportunity set is actually improving, and there is a considerable value dislocation happening in many of our fundamental ideas, where we are positioned, ready to add and ready to increase those exposures once we get more confidence around the macro environment. The macro environment has been incredibly opaque and difficult to read, with various different push and pull factors going on. Firstly, we've seen a significant slowdown in China and Chinese credit creation. Usually at this point in the cycle, you would see a huge stimulus from China, and many market participants have been calling for that Chinese stimulus for the last few months, and still no stimulus has come. We think there is a fundamental change in Chinese policy, where they are trying to de-lever the economy and return the economy to a more sustainable footing, rather than the debt-driven booms of the past 10 years. This is a fundamental change that needs to be factored in by markets. The other parts of the macro environment that again are opaque and difficult are the Fed and their tapering policy. Jay Powell having been reappointed over the last weeks and now taking control and potentially accelerating the taper, has caused confusion and turbulence in the markets. As well as this, we've got very high energy prices still, a very strong US dollar, and all of these factors add to create headwinds for emerging markets. And finally, in the last few days, we've seen the rise of Omicron, the new variant, and again, a lot of uncertainty around what that means for global markets, what that means for reopening trades, what that means for lockdowns, etc. So we're in what we call a world of flux. There's a lot of moving parts, not a huge amount of visibility, and events are happening day by day that cause major reversals in markets and trends with very little edge. And to navigate all this, we've run that tight, controlled portfolio, but we're ready with lots of ideas in the portfolio where we can flip the switch and increase risk considerably when we think the environment is right. And we're getting closer and closer to that point. So right now, we're protecting capital, we're ready with ideas, we're ready with a portfolio that we think has a lot of intrinsic edge, and waiting for that right timing to take bigger risk. Let's hope that happens very soon, and we can return to an environment where the edge is there and the alpha is there, and we can start making great returns. Looking forward to a great 2022, wishing you all the best for the holidays, and we'll talk to you in the new year. Thank you.